Alright, everybody. So, I just got done doing the code along part of the real-time markers, and it was actually a lot longer than I would like it. So, now I'm going to do kind of like a speed run through it. And if you guys like these videos, if you guys like content like this, please subscribe and also just comment in the bottom saying whatever you guys would like to see next. Specifically, if you guys would like to see a tutorial, that's kinda, I would love to be making tutorials, but I want to make a tutorial on something people actually want to see and need more in-depth knowledge on. So you guys gotta let me know whatever. Alright, so let's get started on this right away because last time we kind of dragged a little bit. So starting off, we're going to create a new Vue project, and we'll call it real-time markers. So that we put it in right here, and that will create our new Vue project. All right, good to go. And also, I have my reference code for this one. Usually, I do have reference code on the side. My reference code for this one is actually the exact same code that's in the code along section of this. So you guys, if you guys follow the code along or go to the GitHub page for the code along, you guys can get the reference code from there. But all right. So now that Vue is up and running, let's go ahead and do npm run serve, see what's going on. Oh, I got a cd into the directory. Yep, we're up. Nice. Folder. Projects, web dev, speedruns, real-time markers. There we go. So we got the project up and running. And one of the first things I'm going to do is actually create a new file and call this the vue.config.js. And this file is what we're going to be using so that we have hashing and static directory setup for the Vue side. So we're going to do module.export equals that, and then we're going to do assets dir. It's going to be our static. So anytime we do the build, we have static folder in it, file name hashing, and then true. I believe should be like that. Nah. File name hashing. Alright, that's good, and that's why that's happening. Alright, so we're just going to leave it like this. You guys can add some of the dev server stuff that's in the other one, but I'm going to leave it right here. This should be good enough for what we need. And now that that's done, I'm going to set up the components. So in this, we have the hello world component. We don't really need that. We're going to go ahead and delete that. I don't know why this runs slow sometimes when you delete. It's faster when you shift delete so that it deletes permanently, which is also weird. I don't really get that, but whatever. Also, I'm going to delete this logo because in this one we're not going to have any logo. His deleting takes a minute. It's weird. Okay, so and now in the app we have to get rid of all of this right here. So hello world, we're actually going to create a new component. So a new file in the components and call it topbar.view. And in this, you know, just as a test, we're just gonna write h1 hello. And then we're gonna go to the app and we're gonna change all the hello world stuff to top bar. Okay, and then now right here, we can just do top bar. And that should get our component up and running. Here it is. It says hello. That's perfect. So now in the top bar, we want to do the same thing we did in the code along, where we create the navigation bar basically. And for us, it's not really going to be anything much. We're going to do a div. We're going to call the class of top bar. And within this div, we'll have our title, which is going to say real-time markers. And then we're also going to have our disconnect message, which isn't there here yet. The way we're going to do that is props, and we're going to use a list of them. And well, one of them is going to be called message. Let me make sure in my reference code that all the syntax is correct for that real quick. Well, over there I do it in a different way, so hopefully this will be this will be fine. Yeah. Alright, so we have our message here, but right now it's not going to be anything. What we have to do is we have to pass it from our app.view page. So for right now, I'm just gonna write. That's fine, and then we're going to go to the app, and we're going to have to pass this a message. So we have our components, we have that, and we also need a data function or whatever, and we return our data. And so we're going to return message, but that will actually be disconnected for now because we're not going to be connected to the anything really. Okay, now we're in the top bar. We want to pass in message to message. So this should now get us a nothing. It doesn't get us anything. Why is that? Oh, there we go. Disconnected. Perfect. You just have to refresh the page for that. Okay, so our message is being passed. Now we have to do some of the CSS for this. For that, in the style, we want it to be scoped just to the top bar. And we want to create the CSS for the top bar. Make sure the top bar is actually stuck to the top. We'll do that by first setting the position to be absolute, the width to be 100%, the height to be... The height is going to be a pixel value. I'm going to pick 75 for now, and we'll see how that looks. I think 75 was a little too big. I don't remember. So height width top is going to be 0 pixels. And the left will also be 0 pixels. So now we should have the top bar at the top. We want a color for the top bar, so we're going to put a background. And we'll do RGBA. Then I'll pick the colors real quick. RGB actually. 1 to start off with, and then once it has a color, we can change it to what we need. I'm going to be using a kind of greenish, limey, something like this, something that makes you feel swampy. And let's see. Yep, that's up there, working fine, working great. It is a little too big, huh? Oh, also, we want any text within here to be white. And there that is. Looks good. This needs to be a little bit darker. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, and since this is a little too big, I'm going to change this down to 50. Looking good. Alright. One other thing we need to do is display flex and align, I believe it's items to center. And that gets all of our stuff in the center, which is exactly what we need. Okay, and now we want to go top bar H3 and style the H3 real quick to have it on the left. Have it on the right. Go 0 pixels. Oh, and then position absolute. And that gets that to be on the right while the real-time markers is on the left. And then one thing just overall, we want to add a padding left to be 25 pixels. And we'll also do that to the right, but let me just make sure it's padding that works. Yep. Padding left 0 pixels, and then padding right 25 pixels. Padding left 25, padding right 25. Alright. That was supposed to push it in, not push it out. Interesting. For that, actually, I guess I'll just do it this way. Margin right 25 pixels, and then I have to basically do the same thing for the H1, except without these two lines, and make that left 25 pixels. And that has it perfectly set up exactly how I want it. That's good enough for the top bar. And now we'll move on to the next bit. So our top bar is done. Now we want to get our map, at least get the map displayed, the interactive map. We're not going to have it connected to socketio or anything, but we'll have it displayed for now. So map.view. Ooh, I created a directory, my bad. Okay, see, if you shift delete, it deletes super fast. I don't know what's up with that. New file, map.view. And we will create a div for now. And we'll have this class to be Leaflet map. Okay? And that's good enough for now. Actually, let's give it a background. Oh no, that's good enough for now. That's good enough for now. And then we'll get it into place real quick in the app.view, and then we'll bring in the Leaflet map. So we want to import map comp from and there's our import, and then we want to bring it into the components, and then we can just bring it in right here. You gotta give it a class of map comp, and then let's finish it. All right. So our map comp is right here, and now the container of our map, and then we're going to go ahead and add CSS for it. Okay, so its position is also going to be absolute. Its top position will be the height of the other of the top bar, which I believe was 70. I think it's 50 pixels. We thought it was a little. I thought it was a little too big. Let's see to make sure. 50 pixels. Good, good, good. All right, so go back here, and then also just so we can see it, we're gonna give it a background of black. Okay, now we have to give it a height, which I don't know what the height will be yet. For now, let's do 45 rem, and we have to give it a width. width is of 100%, so the length of the screen. And there we go. If you see the positioning on this side on the right isn't perfect, that's because we didn't pass it the left 0 pixels. And that gets us perfectly positioned on the width, but our positioning on our height is a little too much. So I believe maybe 38 rem will be close. Yes, 39. Let's see that. A little bit more. Let's do 0.3. Yeah. So for me, that's perfect. It leaves no like bottom area. And this obviously, like when you scroll up and down in this, you know, you still have that, but for me that's perfect. Because when I have it full screen, I don't have that bar, which is kind of annoying while developing. But you don't want this to, you don't want the height of the map to be on a percentage, because as you might have an overlay on it, and as you move it up and down, it's going to mess with the overlay. But we're not going to do any of that. Let's just continue. So we have it all set up perfectly to display the map. We'll go ahead and get rid of the color. We don't need that. And now we have to get the leaflet part of everything working. And before we do, I have to npm install leaflet. So let's break out of this, npm install leaflet. Alright, so leaflet's in. Now let's get 1 second. Alright, good to go. Alright. Now let's npm run serve again. And then from here, we want to import leaflet. I believe that should be good to go. Let me make sure. Yep. And now that we have our import ready, we can start getting our the map actually displaying. And to do that, we need a mounted function and a methods object. So here's our mounted function, and we need methods. And I believe that's actually something like that. Let me make sure. Yep, I'm good to go. So now that we have this, we can first write a function called start leaflet map. And then in that function, we can start our leaflet map. We do this by going, first we have to define where the, we have to first create the map on the class, on that div. So we go this dot, okay. We also need our data stuff, because the map is going to be stored in a variable, so we can access it in different functions. We're gonna do data, and then we need a return, and then that return we're going to have my map in it. And for now, start off it'll be null, and then over here we go this dot my map equals, I believe it's l dot map, and then yeah, leaflet map. And then we give it the center of the map, which we're going to I think we got the, let's go 0 0 and see what comes up. The center of the map, which is going to be a list and of the longitude and latitude of wherever we want it. And we also want to give it the zoom, which we'll leave at 13 because that's kind of comfortable. Okay, so this should create a map for us. And we have to call the function in the this dot, in the mounted, so it fires right away. And then we just call that function like that. Refresh the page. Why didn't that update? Maybe here, look, for over here, let's also add the ID. Okay. Huh. Leave the background. Well, something is happening because the background didn't. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's what I thought. System limit for file watchers. I'm going to have to close this window, and reopen them up. It's great. Alright, so new empty window. Sorry, excuse me. And that window's back up. Now we do cd, projects, web dev, speedrun, real time. Alright, and empty and run serve. Okay, cool. Now we can actually see what the error is. Ah, perfect. And also, well, might as well. Alright, cool. Something's still wrong, but at least we got that working. I'm gonna get rid of the background color now. This shouldn't just be a plus minus saying leaflet. That's a little strange, but at least it's something is going on. That's good, better than nothing. Let's go ahead and continue putting in the tiles, and then we'll see exactly why that's not right. Maybe it's because of the 0, 0. Here, let me give it the same coordinates we had in our code along. Those were coordinates. That's our zoom. Yeah, this should be good to go at least. And our whatchamacallit is way off. Alright, well, we'll figure that out real quick. Let me get the tiles. Because to actually see the graph, we need to have our tiles set up. And we'll get the tiles from right here. And to actually save the tiles, we don't need the variable. Okay, so we'll just get rid of that. L dot tile layer. And then once we have the tile layer, we just do add to this dot my map. And that should get our tile layers going at least. Let's see how that looks. Alright, nice. We do get the tile layers going just by doing that. It's still kind of definitely not correct. All over the place. Which is strange. Okay, let's add some style. And this is actually going to overwrite some of the other styling we did in the app.vue, but that's fine. We'll fix that up later. I just want to make sure that this is at least being displayed in a proper way, and it's not. I wonder why the CSS is having so much issues. Well, I got it. I got it. It's because we have the leaflet being imported here, but the CSS is not coming in. That's why we see that the styles is not right at all. So we have to go to our main.js and we have to import the CSS. So we do import leaflet dist leaflet.css, and that should get us our styles back. Yep, perfect. And now we're back on track with what we need to do, except our the CSS we added down here, we can get rid of that now. And then when we look at the map, it's perfect. We have leaflet down here, OpenStreetMap as a contributor, and yeah, we can zoom in, zoom out, do whatever. Look at the heart of London. It literally looks like a heart. It's pretty cool. Now let's go. Continue this. Now that we have the map up and running, that's very good. We also want to, for the future, we want to set up a marker group. So we're going to call that marker group. We're going to set it to null. And in here, we're going to do, I don't remember the exact syntax off the top of my head. I believe it's this dot mymap dot add marker group or something like that. But let me make sure in the reference code, which you guys can look at on GitHub. It's a part of the code along that we did before this. All right. So it's going to be this dot marker group, which is equals L dot layer group. It's not L dot mark group, L dot layer group, and then we add that to the map. All right. And that should get our marker group going, but we can't actually tell until, well, we start creating markers, which we're not going to do right away. This is just to get the start leaflet map function working, and we're going to need this in the future. Next, let's get up the Flask side and get the socketio stuff running. At least, let's get the connection going. Another thing I'm going to have to check is real quick. Is the exact way to, okay, socket.io client, that's perfect. We also need to install socketio client. All right, so now that's done, let's get Flask up and running. And we're going to do that by creating a new open window and conda activate web dev. I don't actually have to do that, but I'm getting the console ready for when we do run the app.py file. We're going to go to Visual Studio Code and create an app.py file. And that's basically, this py file is going to have all of our Flask related stuff in it, like our socketio stuff and also just all our Flask stuff, because we're not going to be having a render template folder or static folder. Our static folder is going to be in the dist, and our render template folder will be the dist folder, the distribution folder that gets created when you run the npm run build. Okay, so to start off, we're gonna get Flask up in here by doing from Flask import Flask, and we also want to hold up. Alright, that's fine. From Flask import Flask, and we also want to get render template. Okay, and then we also need the Flask course. For our backend stuff, but we're not going to be using that really. Now we're going to start off by actually creating creating the Flask project, and then we'll get it set up with Flask-socketio. So app equals Flask. This should be green. I don't get why it's not lighting up, but we'll see if we come up with errors and stuff. So whatever the name is, and then static folder. We define the static folder to be in the dist, which it will be. That's why we did the Vue.config to create a static folder for our asset directory. Okay, so that should be good on that. And then we get the template folder, and that's going to be just our dist folder, and that should be good for that. Next, we got to set up our course stuff. So course app resources equals, and then we have to give it the where the course is allowed. So we're gonna do the API path, and then anything after that. And then we're going to set the origins. So from if you have a specific site that you want to allow, you could put the site in, but I'm just going to be doing it from anywhere. Okay, that looks good. Now that we have the Flask set up, the course set up, we have to set up the routing. For the routing, we're going to basically catch all the routes and pass them to the index. So we're going to do at app.route for the normal path. We give it a default of nothing. Okay, looks good. And then we also have to add app.route for the catch-all to catch all the routes, the paths. And for that, we're going to do slash path and close that up. Okay, and now we have to create our catch all, and that in that we're going to return the rendered template of the index.html file that's going to be inside the render template. Okay, so this index.html file is our Vue.js application. This will start it up and render it. Okay, and then we do the main part where that gets this running. And for that, we just do app.run, and we pass it just a port. That should be good to go. Let's try it. No module named Flask. How is that possible? Oh, yeah. This should actually be lowercase. And then things will work out for us better. And so should this. Yeah. Now let's try that. Static folder. As a border. That's not right. Folder. There we go. All right, so our server is running on 5,000, but that's not correct. But for right now, it's okay. Now, right now, when we put this in, it's not going to do anything because we never ran the build. So let's actually see what it does, because I am curious. Internal server error. and that is because it can't find the index.html file, right? Now let's get the index.html file, which all we do is all we have to do is run npm run build in the root directory, which will build our project. And since we already had the project set up, we can see that it creates a static folder in our dist folder, and you have your hashing right here. So everything is working fine. Now when we refresh the page, it should display our graph. So it works out great. And since it's working, and we know that this is on the Flask side because it's on port 5000. So that's great. Now let's set up our socket.io. We want to from Flask-socketio, and I already have all this stuff installed in my conda environment, so I don't have to do the pip install, but you guys should set up a virtual environment or a conda environment and get that going. Import socket.io and emit. Okay, and then over here we're going to do socket.io equals socket.io. We pass it the app, and we say course allowed origins equal to that. And you guys shouldn't leave it open, but because we're just testing, this is just a demonstration, I leave it open. When I actually do the production, you pass in the actual thing you want to allow origin from. Now, this side is set up. We want to create our socket.io stuff. Okay, and this is where our socket.io connection and all that stuff will be. But before we start creating socket.io connections and doing the onConnect, we have to fix the way we're running things. And for that, all we do is socket.io .run, and we pass it the app as well as the port. And that should be good to go for the socket.io running. To test it real quick, let's restart our python.app.py file. Oh, I have to create a print as well, because it's not going to say anything. Okay. And we get server is running, so everything is working just fine. When we go to our this page, we refresh it, it's still being connected, but we still get we have a disconnected message right here, which is true. We don't have the function working yet. Now let's get that disconnected message to be a connected message. For that, we want to catch the on connection event on the backend side. So we'll do at socket.io.on. We're gonna do connect, and then for the function we do client connect, and that's our function. So in that, we just, from right now, we're going to print alright. So we're just gonna print when the connection actually occurs. And right now there won't be any connection because we do not have our socket.io client set up. Let's do that. So over here, I think I installed the socket.io client, so we already have it. We just need to get it working. And to get it working in the app.view thing, we will do. Let me get the exact syntax. All right. we're going to do our connection. So we have socket, and that socket will have our first we have to import Vue though. I believe right here I just do const io equals require. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Socket io client, and that gets our socket io client in here, and then we could just go socket and then io, and that will connect us. Well, we need to connect WebSocket localhost 5,000. And one thing I gotta say is when you're in like your actual production side, like if you want to pull this into Nginx, this is going to have to change to the address you have your Nginx set up for the application. So just keep that in mind, that these settings on the production side have to change. This is just for development and to get things going. Okay. And then we want to make sure that our layer is transport. Transports. Okay. And we want to make sure it's webhook. Oh, WebSocket, sorry. Alright, because we don't want it to go to polling or anything like that. Okay, that should get our socket IO at least connected. We should get the connection message that fires. Let's go ahead and restart that. Start our serve. Number of file watchers yet again. So we close the window. Close the window. Close that. Reopen it. Okay, so we're back on that. Restart this. Start the client up. Cool, so we do have an error. Yeah, it's not a actual, there we go. Because it's actually a variable that's being stored here. Let's see if this is working. Yeah, now we're up and running. And then there our server is running. We still have the disconnected message. Let's refresh this. That should have said connected. We connect to port 5000. That's looking good. Port 5000. On connect. Yeah, things should be working just fine. I wonder why they're not. Try this again. I don't think refreshing a bunch of times is going to... Oh. This isn't the right page. Let's try this now. Still nothing. I wonder why. Okay, well, let's continue on and let's just see if it eventually does work. That's very strange. I might be forgetting to do something pretty simple. Um, Let me check the main.js real quick. No, I don't think it's anything there. Ugh. Let's debug real quick. I'm going to inspect. Ah, the connection to WS was interrupted while the page was loading. Okay, well, a layer group function is wrong. Let's fix that real quick. It's add to, not top. It's funny. Okay, let's refresh again. I wonder why that is. Okay, break out of that, break out of that. Rerun the serve. That should give us an error. Oh! I want to force allowed origins is right. Well, this stuff is good. Well, we're not hitting this print. Are we running it right? Yeah. I think it's something wrong with the view side. We will figure this out. Okay, maybe something is wrong with the way I set this up. WSS. Oh, yeah, it is. There is. I believe that it's supposed to have a... Yeah. Should be that. Address is wrong. Miss two little dots and everything goes haywire. I guess it's still not working right though. Oh, look, client connected. Actually, it's working fine now. Nice. Our client is connecting. That's all. Two little dots. All right, let's move on and move on quickly. Okay. Now that our connection is working, we want to emit a unconnected message. And to do that, we're going to go to app.py, and where it connects, we're going to emit a unconnected on connect, and we're going to pass it a message, and the message is going to be connected. Okay, now let's go to our app.vue, and over here we have to create a mounted function. We have to do the mounted function. And in that, we have to do socket.on on connect, which will give us a message, and we're going to pass that to a pointy function, and in there we're gonna do this dot message equals message, and that way this message variable should update, and that should update in our top bar as well. Oh yeah. It's this dot. Oh yeah, we have to restart the backend. Alright, so now our disconnect, in the beginning it says disconnected, and once the connection is made, we get it says connected, because the message gets passed to the variable, and then the variable is synced through this right here, which then goes to the top bar and displays it. So it's perfect. Our connection is being made. That's what we like to see. Now we actually want to create a props list over here as well, and pass it the socket variable, so that we can access the socket in our component. So socket, okay. And in here we're going to do socket. That should pass the socket back to over here. Everything's still running. Looks good. Okay. So now that all that is done, we want to get the marker click event going. To do that, we're going to create a new function called map click event click marker, actually we'll call it. And in this marker we need to get the click event working. The click event is something that's built into Leaflet, so you just have to access the my map, and then similar to how we did the the socket on, and we wait for the on connect message to be received, or the event to fire. We do the same thing over here, but over here it's click. So the event gets passed to a pointy, and this will hold the latitude and longitude amongst other information. Let's make sure. So whenever we click the map, that it should get this started, and then once this starts, anytime you click on the map, it will fire. Okay, let's see. Yep, it fires, it prints out this, and in here we have the lat long object that has our latitude and the longitude. Okay, once the click event is going, we want to So the click event will pass information to the backend, and then the backend has to pass that information back to this client as well as every other client. And to do that, we're going to create a function called update markers that will be triggered on the click but whenever a person clicks. But before we do that, we have to create a click markers object, and we have to create a ID match object. Because in here we're going to pass the client's ID over here, and we're going to have it synced to the request.sid. So for some reason the session ID on here, I can't get the same session ID on the client side, or I don't know how. But I know kind of workaround, so we're going to be doing the workaround. If you guys can get the request.sid over here, that's over there, that'll be perfect. So up on top, we're going to also import request. And then over here, we're going to create that on event. So whenever we have the, one second, I'm going to check to make sure my reference code is also, we're still kind of on par. My variable names are not the same, but that's fine. So we're going to do an on click. And so whenever the click fires, we're going to emit the on click. And so we're going to create the function. The function will also be passed a list send list, and in that send list we'll have information. Right now we'll just print it to make sure we actually get the, alright. Now in our map.view, or right here, we want to emit on click, and we want to pass it our send. Well, let's make the send list real quick. Our send list will our first spot will be the this.socket.io.engine, something like that. I'm going to get the exact I'm going to get the exact syntax. I don't want to Google it real quick, but I could. So our first one will be socket.io.engine.id, and then our second one will be the ev.let long object, and that's what we're going to send list, and that should be good to go. Let's see how it's looking. Restart that, refresh that, click. Our click event did fire, and here we have it. We have our the ID that's being sent, and we also have our latitude and longitude object that's being sent. Now on the app.py, on the Flask side of things, we want to store this object. Right now we're just printing it. We want to store it in the click markers, and also we want to match its ID. So to start off, we're going to do ID match, and we're going to match the ID, so that's the first element, equals request.sid. And the SID actually we get it from this right here. So in the future we use that so that we could find our localhost, and so that we could delete the markers when the client disconnects on all the clients that are still connected. So we have that, and next we have to store our lat and long information. So we do that same thing. We store it as send list 0. Wait, I think this is actually supposed to be stored as request SID and then send list 0. Let me make sure. Yep. All right. So our request.sid is the key because then this is, well, a lot easier to access. So equals, and we want to access the ID based on the SID. That's the link we want. Yeah. You guys will see in the future why this looks more. This is why we have it. And if you follow the code along, you already know. So click markers send list 0 equals send list 1. That's good. And now we want to emit an update markers event, and in that we pass it the click markers. And also do we broadcast this to all? Well, we do want everybody to update their markers, so yeah. All right. So this now what the update markers will pass us all the list of markers that are going to be there. So if 2 people are connected, 2 people's IDs and latitude and longitude will be in here, and when we get them, they'll be passed to each client, both of their information. Okay, so we're going to do on the map. Now we want to do a connected function. This .socket.on update underscore markers and obj point the little function. And we just want to print it to make sure everything is working fine. And yeah, so we get the object printed. That's perfect. Let's make sure now when another client is on, when he clicks, we have 2. So I just clicked over there. This got sent, and this now has 2 people in it. You see by the 2 different IDs and the 2 different latitude and longitude objects. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we need. Now we can go ahead and start creating our markers, which is always kind of the magic side of this. For creating the markers, we have to first make sure that, well, first of all, we're going to be using the GitHub markers stuff, which I'm going to Google for it and then copy and paste it in because it's a lot of stuff. But starting off, we actually loop through the object for key and obj, and for key and obj, and then we create the marker from that. But we want to make sure that over here we also have a markers list object. So we'll leave it as an empty object to begin with. And over here, first of all, we want to do an if statement to see if the key exists. So if the marker already exists and we click again, we need to delete that marker and then add the new marker. So we're going to have to check that, but let's do that after. I want to first create a marker and see how that goes. So to do that, to start off, we first have to define the default marker. So const default marker equals L dot icon new L dot icon, and then we have to pass it the icon URL, the shadow URL, and all that good stuff. I'll get that stuff from a Google search real quick. Okay, and to do that, the search is how to get different colored markers in Leaflet. So the first thing that comes up from there, you scroll down, and here it is. It's from GitHub content, and this is the URL. I'm gonna copy actually just the inside stuff, then go back and paste it in. So you guys can Google the same thing, and if that's not there, here's you guys will have to copy it the old-fashioned way, because I'm definitely not gonna do it. So here's the whole URL. You guys can pause the video and write it all down. Okay, and big props to these people for creating this. It's kind of annoying that Leaflet doesn't have different colored markers by default, but good thing we have good developers out there who are willing to help out. So yeah, that will create our marker, and then we want to create the new marker. So we're going to do this dot click markers, and we're going to save the key as key. One second, I have to scratch my leg real quick. Alright. Equals L dot marker. So we create the marker. Yeah, so this dot click markers, we're basing it on the key that's the ID that is passed from the backend. And the marker is going to be L dot marker. And we have to pass it the latitude and the longitude. To do it, we go obj key dot lat and obj key dot long, and then we have to pass it the icon. So icon default, what do I call it, marker, and then we do add to this dot marker group, and that should be good to go. And that should create our marker. Let's see if it actually does. We're gonna go right here, click, it did not. See what's going on. Default marker is not defined because it's not spelled right, you're right. Oh. Something did come up. All three of these did come up. But it's not displaying the marker. How sad. Did I do something wrong? Let me check my reference code. Let me close this off. Well, that all looks fine. Everything is looking good. I wonder why. Save that. Refresh the page. I'm also going to restart the client or the backend. Refresh. Click. Nothing. I wonder why it's not rendering. Maybe I copy and pasted wrong. Who knows? Let me try copying and pasting the icon from my reference code, which it should be the same thing, but I think I might have messed up when I was editing it. Nope. So that's strange. The only the only difference I have is that this is icon and not marker, but that's not oh, this is also an uppercase. Is it an uppercase over here? No. Ah, so it was just the uppercase, lowercase thing. So if I have I right here, so I did copy and paste, but this is literally exactly the same thing. So let me actually just go back before I copied and paste that. Alright, so this is where we were, and the only difference is we have to change this to this. The I needs to not be capital. We refresh, click, and everything's working fine. The reason why we have so many points is because a lot of different connections made these points. By that I mean we kept on refreshing the page and then creating new points. So let's just restart the client. Our new client connected. We refresh the page, click once, and we have 1 point created, which is great. When we click again, another point does get created. Why is that? When we refresh, they both go away. We click again. Now there's 2 points created. But the old point that was here is gone. It's because on the client, we don't delete a point when we make a new one. So let's go to this, and right here in the beginning we want to do if const key in obj, no, if const key in, that's wrong, if key, and we don't have to redefine because it's already defined over here. So we just reference key in this dot marker, this dot click markers. So if that marker already exists, we want to delete it. And we do that by doing this dot marker group dot clear layer. I believe it's clear layer. Let me make sure. Oh, that's remove layer. Sorry. And then we go this dot click markers key. And that will remove the old marker and add the new marker. So this will, if the markers already exist, it'll remove the marker and then add the new one. Let's test it out. Click here. Oh, this marker is still here because of the we have to refresh the server real quick. Click, 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 click. The old one gets deleted, new one gets made. Perfect. Let's move on now. One more thing we want to do is make sure that if it's our local client, then we want to have a blue marker. But if it's other people's marker, then we want the other people's marker to be red. And we'll do that by doing if key equals this right here. I'm just going to copy and paste that up over here. So if key equals this socket.io.engine.id, then we know that it's a local, it's the local marker that's being updated. So we'll go ahead and copy paste that into here. Right, but right now, this default marker is out of scope, so we'll fix that. Okay, so we just have a empty thing, and then it gets assigned right here. Okay, else we want a red marker. So we copy and paste the same thing over again, except we fix the tabbing. Okay, and then we change the blue to red. Perfect. So if it's us, it'll be blue. If it's somebody else, it'll be red. Let's test that out real quick. So ours is blue. Let's go to localhost 8080. And so this guy on here is blue, but on here, it's not. It doesn't exist. That's not good. I think it was just because I didn't have the page refreshed. So let's just restart the client real quick. Restart the backend. We have two clients connected. Let's refresh both of their pages. Empty. When I click, there's one right there, and on the other page it's red. Side by side, you can see this one's blue, this one's red, and when I move it, it moves on the other page. So if I click on what do I see here that's over there? Mayfar, it moves to Mayfar. And then over here, when I click on this page, my local one is blue, but over here it's red. Also, if you actually notice, the latitude and the longitude are not in the right spot. I hope I didn't do the... Oh, no, they are. They are. Different zooms. Alright, cool. That would have been bad, but it looks good. Looks like it's working perfectly fine. Alright, big problem though. When we leave, it doesn't update. This marker is still here, but that dude is gone. The client on this side. Another problem, when we join, nothing is updated. Even though there's markers on this side, there's no markers on here. So let's go ahead and fix that up real quick. Okay, so what we're going to do to fix that is go to app.py, and on the connect, we also want to create another emit. What did I call it? I think I'll just call it mon markers. It doesn't matter what you guys call it, but just make it something where you guys know which function is being called when. And we're going to pass it the click markers. Oh, actually, I believe I could just do this. And then we click markers, and then we broadcast it to everybody. We don't even need to broadcast it. This is good right here. We just do update markers. We call the same function that's already written, and we have the we pass it the click markers object. So now when what just happened? So now when a client joins, it should update. I have to refresh the I have to restart the server, the backend. Okay. Oh yeah, well there's nothing in there. So that now when I join, it has the marker right there for us. So that's perfect to go, and that's really easy as well. But same problem when we leave, it doesn't leave. So that's to solve that, we have to do a disconnect function. So we're gonna do at socketio dot on disconnect. I'm gonna def client disconnect, and in here we're going to do an emit remove marker, and we're going to pass it. I could also just call it update markers again after removing the marker from the updated markers. Let's try that real quick, and if that doesn't work, we'll do it the way that we did it in the last code along. But in here, let's do delete, and we're going to delete the marker. So delete click markers, and we're going, this is the reason why we have the ID match, because we're going to do ID match request.sid, and that will delete the marker with the ID of the right here from the engine.io ID or engine.id. Okay, and now that that's deleted, we can just do the same thing where we update marker, but we want to do broad equals true. Okay, let's see if that works. Restart that. Oh no. Alright, 2 empty ones. We click here. It shows up there. Let me just move this off to the side. Wrong side. Okay, so it shows up. We click here, it shows up there. When we leave, nothing happens. That's not right. Let's restart that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Also, over here, we have to put this all in an if statement. If, and the if statement was, I can't remember off the top of my head. The if statement was if ID that match in click markers. That is the if statement, I believe. We could just check to make, we could just test it to make sure. Okay, let's see both of them open again. Refresh that, it's not going to be anything. Move this off to the side. I hate it when it does that. This off to the side right there. Okay. Alright, click here, both exist. X out. It doesn't fire. Why? Mm. This will only get set if on the on click. So then this function should never fire, which wouldn't cause the key error. That's so strange. But yeah, alright, so this should actually be if request the SID is in ID match. Now that should get us. It won't fire unless the key exists. And so unless the person has clicked at least once before, it won't fire. But that shouldn't. The key error shouldn't be coming from that. What am I sending this as? Yeah. Alright, let's try this. Refresh the page, open a new one, pull it out. Perfect. Okay, click here, X out of there. It still has this, but are we getting an error? At least we're not getting an error anymore, so that's good. Yeah. I don't know why it's not updating markers. I'm doing something. Sorry, my brother just came in. And we're going to call a print. Hmm. Alright, forget about all that. I'm just going to do it the way we have it. Remove marker. Broadcast equals true. Instead of doing a remove marker, we're going to pass it the... I'm not even editing the right thing. Remove marker. Instead of this, we're going to pass it the ID match. And then we also want to remove the ID match. Alright. But over here, instead of just sending it... Alright. Yeah, this should be good. And then on the map.view side, we're going to want to do another on connect. Socket.on remove marker ID. And we're just going to copy and paste this right here down to here. But instead of that, we're going to use ID. And that should remove the marker. Um, and that removes the marker for us whenever the person leaves. So yeah, now we have that's basically everything done right there. When a person is online, their markers show up. You can move them like this throughout the map, and it updates real time on the other clients. Let's test that out with a couple more clients. Okay. One more, if we can get it to fit in there. Alright, that's fine. Okay. He has that one marker that exists. He has that one marker that exists. Everybody has the one marker that exists, but since none of them clicked on the map, none of their markers are on the map. Okay? Now this guy is gonna click I can't say any of those names. Holborn? And we see on this map a marker gets updated on Holborn, and so does on all the other maps. The other maps have red on both because there's none of them. On this map, one of them is blue because this is the marker for this guy, and this is the marker for this window. Okay, we can see real-time movement of the markers on all of the clients, so that's exactly what we've been trying to accomplish. And now this guy is going to create a marker, and now we see 3 markers, and it is updating all around, so that's pretty neat. And one more marker over here updates all around. Okay, so everybody has their friends being watched wherever they click. And in the future you guys can do geolocation and to create like a tracking app. That's up to you guys. But yeah, that's everything for this. Let's see them slowly leave. Now there's 3. Now there's 2. Now there's 1. And once I leave, there will be none. Actually, I'm going to refresh the page. There's none. So that's perfect. One thing I want to check before we finish this off. So we're done here. Everything's working good. But I also want to make sure that when I build, it actually works when it's just getting run through Flask. I'm just curious to see that. It might be a couple of changes in the settings, but I'm not going to change any of those. For all intents and purposes, this speed run is over now. Okay, the build is done. Run python app.py, and this will be on 5,000. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's also working through Flasks by just serving it through Flask as well. So you guys can see this on port 5000 instead of 8080, and the markers are updating in real time. So, all right, now we're officially done. Okay, take it easy, you guys. Please let me know if you guys want a tutorial. I've done this in a code along, I've done this in a speed run, and now I wouldn't mind doing a tutorial on it either. Just let me know.